Drop a hot take and I will potentially use it for an upcoming video. Festival 2025 edition. You don't have to believe it. We've got another hot take video and I asked you guys on Twitter to drop your hot takes for the festival. If you want to get involved in the next one, definitely go ahead and follow me on Twitter, Zakashi with 3 eyes, as I only take replies from there. So also make sure to turn on post notifications. And I always give one hot take myself. I'll go first. Even if the 7th anniversary didn't get leaked, the Festival 2025 Part 1 is still better than the 7th anniversary Part 1. Now, a lot of people are going to jump the gun and assume I mean it's just because of the Fusion Warrior, but I don't believe that in the slightest. I think it's more about how they went ahead before the festival, then going into the festival, alongside the reveal they put out and the quality of the units they put out. If the 7th anniversary didn't get leaked, we would have got MUI Goku and SSBE Vegeta as we did, but we just wouldn't have known until the reveal. The reveal that was built of AI anyways, the actual reveal. So that's a downer. But a lot of us were already expecting a Ultra MUI, so it would have been a downer as well, because now we know we're not going to get an Ultra variant in the same celebration. And we've already got an MUI Goku standalone. So him just being transforming, although it's from UI sign, we've also got a lot of UI signs. 3 to be precise. Whereas with Super Gogeta, in premium rarity, we only have the Ultra and a revival. And the synchro mechanic is much longed for. But the reveal for the festival was much better. They kept it simple. And the events going into the festival, as well as the meta going into the festival, were just much cleaner, making the festival overall, at least regarding the Part 1, better than the 7th anniversary Part 1. Anyways, let's get into this video. We've got one here from Lucy, the real Fusara. Legends is in a much better position meta-wise than it has ever been. I'm going to have to hard disagree here, simply because the Legends Festival 2023 Part 1 exists. If you played during that time, you will understand. But if you didn't play during that time, then let me explain to you. The reason why that festival, right, is probably one of the best or healthiest metas ever in Dragon Ball Legends history is because both Part 1 units promoted a very different playstyle, and each Part 1 unit, so it was Beast Gohan, the transforming one, the red one, and Evo Ken, both of them played completely different but acted on the exact same level. And Legends, I don't think they've ever been able to recreate that type of meta. If you wanted to do the long combos and play strategically, you choose Evo Ken, but if you wanted to be high damage power, you go Beast Gohan. But no matter which end you're playing on, you can play that style and still stomp PvP, where I feel in any other meta, they haven't been able to do that, especially this meta right here. If you want to have the most optimal team, you're going to have some survivability, which overall makes it worse. What if all the units I like don't have any survivability? I simply can't hang. And even in the 2023 festival, Evo Ken nor Beast had survivability, which means that if you actually get to 0 health, you're at 0 health, you're done. But in this case, there's so many layers you gotta break through, so much disruption, etc., where it's overwhelming. So to say it's better positioned than it's ever been meta-wise, I think that's just wrong because the 2023 festival exists. If I'm trying to think of any other metas that exist that were really good, maybe the 1st anniversary, but you have to have Super Vegeta or you're cooked, so I wouldn't even say that. I can't really think of anything else off the top of my head, but definitely the 2023 festival Part 1 meta is clear of whatever we have in the game right now, without doubt, so I have to disagree. We got one here from AKJ, Ask KJ. Gogeta's summon animation is better than his LF. I don't think this is a hot take, and I'm gonna agree. This should be obvious because Jiren makes Gogeta's animations worth more. If you look at the way he's actually fighting Jiren, I've said this so many times, but I feel like Jiren versus Gogeta is like the matchup of heaven. The way Jiren fights, he sends those invisible attacks, but the way Gogeta moves is almost as if he's invisible when he glides through. It's like he's barely moving. You know when he like moves forward? You guys know what I'm talking about. So he's like the perfect match to go against Jiren in terms of animation. And it works very well in the Sunman animation. Whoever was in the devs office that put these two together, they were cooking. They know ball. So I'm gonna agree, obviously. Whereas the legendary finish, right, it's just a final flash, and the final flash like is barely part of the legendary finish because it's just meant to be the blue card, right? But then after that, it's more of just his regular Soul Punisher. It's not a 1-to-1 of what happened in the movie, but it's just a recreation of it to a degree. It's more that Super Gogeta's animations are meant to be nice. They're meant to be smooth. They're meant to show his character, but they didn't really go over the top with it, which is something that you can see very evidently. But it's not bad. But the summon animation is definitely better. And I think it's because Jiren adds to that. So yeah, I'm gonna agree. We've got one here from Bruh. He's still top 1, and he's got a picture of Fusion Zamasu. I guess this is agreeable. Like, I have him interchangeable top 1. I've said this before. He does everything the best in the game except damage, and it's simply that Super Gogeta's damage is just so high. It's just so high that he's able to eclipse Zamasu. So if you want to play a safe game all around, you should choose Zamasu, because he's going to dominate everybody else in the game besides Super Gogeta. But it's not that he can't dominate Super Gogeta, it's just that Super Gogeta offensively will easily clip this guy, that all his kit factors don't matter. Gogeta just does that much damage. So yeah, this is agreeable though overall, because he's going to destroy the whole game. So having him at number 1, it's not really a hot take in my opinion, but obviously it might seem like that to some. We've got one here from Vegito72. Ultra Super Vegito is still usable in the right hands. People just don't want to believe it. Well, agreeable. Fusion Warriors is really good right now, and Super Vegito has survivability. He also tanks quite a bit. But what I will say is, because he's an old Ultra, right? This guy released in the 4th anniversary. That means you've had 3 years at least to get this guy to 14 stars. Most people have him high starred, and with the free copy they released at the end of the 7th anniversary, if you summon on that banner, come on, like, people are going to have him high star, so his performance is going to be at a higher tier. 14 stars, a plat equip, he's going to be decent. So I don't think this is a really hot take either. I guess it might be to some, because I guess his time has passed, but he's good. He's good. I've used him myself, but again, mine is 14 stars. So kind of want an opinion from somebody that has him like 10 stars or lower. But I think he's definitely usable right now. Usable for sure. I agree. We've got one here from Slick Gang 4. One of the main factors about Legends Festival, any of the game's anniversary celebrations in general, is the character picks. The community would rather have the 100th variant of the same character than having diversity, and I think that issue from greed and selfishness. I agree. This is a very agreeable take. I've said this before. Dragon Ball fans don't care that there are repeats as much as there are individuals, and I'm not particularly one of them, because my standards for Dragon Ball are that they are going to produce repeats. But in general, I am like that with other things, not Dragon Ball though. When was the last time we got a Dragon Ball Super episode? We haven't got one in years. And you know what? People still mess with Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball Z ended years ago. People still mess with Dragon Ball Z. God damn, there's 30-year-olds still watching Dragon Ball OG. So, you know, guys still dying for GT. People don't care that they don't have a lot of new content. Dragon Ball isn't that franchise per se, and obviously with the unfortunate passing of Akira Toriyama, RIP, things have slowed down even more than we already had it slowed. So us getting the 100th variant of the same character, I wouldn't necessarily say the issue is from greed and selfishness. It's more that we know what is valued. We shouldn't act obtuse. We shouldn't be ignorant to it. We know Goku's the main character, so we're gonna get a bunch of Gokus. We know Gogeta and Vegito are a fusion of the main character and the deuteragonist, the protagonist and the deuteragonist. Those two together are going to make a hype production every single time. We get the Gogetas in movies and Vegetos in the hypest episodes in the anime. Without a doubt, if they put them into a game, they are going to sell. They're going to push them naturally. So I don't really see it as like an issue per se, and I don't think the issue is greed and selfishness, but I think the community would rather have 100 variants of the same character is 100% agreeable. It's just the natural cycle of Dragon Ball fans and Dragon Ball games because of how the anime is what it is. It's also a big reason why other animes do not have games like Dragon Ball. They couldn't do that because they don't have the pool to do that. Dragon Ball does have the pool to do that. Even though other animes have a bunch of characters, even more characters and more hype variants potentially, right, within their franchise, they can't pull what Dragon Ball can pull because Dragon Ball fans are okay with repeats. We got one here from Danny. I don't think Gogeta is even top 3. With how prevalent Ultra CMZ is, it isn't possible for him to be any higher than 4 in my opinion. CMZ makes quick work of him, and even the type neutral doesn't help him. Also, DB is still a top 3 team. I don't know what Gogeta you're fighting, but this is very disagreeable. And I think you saying CMZ is prevalent, sorry, sounded out wrong, is more so to your experience, because I don't see him that much. I don't see him even at all now. But let's say even if I did, the game is still a 3v3 game. It's not a 1v3 game. So sure, CMZ running him a lot, let's say people did, he's gonna have to deal with a lot of yellows. Ultra Super Saiyan Goku, Future Gohan, Janemba, who else is in there? DB, Goku, there's a lot of yellows that he's gonna have to deal with. Where in PvP for Gogeta, it's just CMZ. So I wouldn't say this is actually a good argument. In 1v1s, sure, like maybe you want to push that, but even then Gogeta can melt CMZ as well, so we gotta be careful both ways. So yeah, I'm gonna just disagree. I see what you're trying to push, but I think it's more in a 1v1 narrative and per your experience. So I'm not gonna say your experience is wrong, it's just not generally right, and I think most people would also say this is disagreeable. We got one here from Gekishin. This Gogeta is really fun to use. I say agreeable. I think anybody who's using this Gogeta does enjoy him, and it's not even because of his animations, it's not because it's Gogeta. I think the main thing is that he does a lot of damage. So after dealing with so much survivability and people tanking everything, having a unit this powerful makes you feel like, okay, I'm going to win every single time. And because you're doing a lot of damage and you're going to win, you feel safe, you can actually enjoy the game, you get ahead, given that you get the priority. So it's a skill issue, and then once you get past the skill issue, you're literally smooth sailing. And I think that's what's fun about Gogeta. It could have been anybody, you know, any unit they drop, if they can do this amount of damage, everybody's going to enjoy themselves with using them. If you don't have them, goddamn. But the hot take is about being fun to use, you know. I think fun is subjective, so some people might not like this. I think generally speaking, the idea of him being a high damager is fun because you're going to be winning. So that's why I agree with this take, and I think it's a very agreeable take. We've got a hot take here from Alta. Janemba was a wasted slot for a festival headliner. Not only is Powerful Opponents one of, if not the best team right now, but Movies was already being buffed with Gogeta. Also, making both units from the same movie makes Fest feel bland was the main reason that Fest 2024 was so boring. I disagree. I don't know if it's gonna be widely disagreeable, but logic wise, this basis is just wrong. For example, I think the biggest reason why the 2024 festival was boring, quote unquote, one, the meta was horrendous. It was poor. We had Ultra Major Vegeta destroying the game, and the Part 1 festival in 2024 did not change that. It did not change that. If anything, it aided the problem. Where in this case, we've got Gogeta coming, swoop, power creep everything, and destroy everybody basically. That's what he's supposed to do. That's what the festival is meant to do. It's meant to reset the game, power creep, not just add to the problem. Another factor for why the 2024 festival felt boring is because one, they dropped another Vegito. Vegito's not really the problem. It's the fact that he wasn't a synchro. There are people that will complain, oh my god, another Vegito, boring. But we're Dragon Ball fans, I've already described this. People don't mind it. It just has to come fresh. We literally got a Vegito in the 6th anniversary and 2 Gogetas. So you could say, yes, the Fusion Warrior gimmick is kind of out the window, but it's more that people were astonished with the synchro mechanic and we got something new. If it's an Ultra, that's whatever, but even he had the tap actions art with the 1000 times Big Bang Kamehameha G4, right? With Vegito Blue, he was just a transforming unit. So with this case, I don't think Janemba is a wasted slot in the slightest. With them also doing the same saga, I don't think that's a problem either. I think it's more that he needs to be good or better. His kit is great, don't get it twisted, and defensively I think he's doing a good enough job, and offensively he's not bad, he just requires investment. But you kind of want these units to take the game by storm, and if Janemba is getting crept by the units that were released prior to the festival, that doesn't reset the game in a sense. We want the festival units to be worth it to the degree of, yeah, without a doubt, these guys are locked on my team every time I play PvP because they're that valuable. So would I say he's a wasted slot? No. Would I say Powerful Opponent is the best team right now? Most likely, yes, it was. But Movies itself is always going to be a good safe pick for them, and I think they needed to do a safe pick. So that's why I disagree. I think your basis here down here is wrong. The start was good though, but then Movies, like just being popular, is always going to be safe for any celebration, honestly. So I don't think they did a bad pick with Janemba. I think obviously they could have went someone better, but then it could have been too overwhelming and aided something else that could have made the game even worse. Remember, there's a leader slot. So yeah, I kind of feel like I'm yapping now, but I just overall disagree. We got one here from Laser. Janemba is gonna age better than Gogeta, I reckon. Do I have anything to justify it? No. Will I still push the agenda like the JJK fan I am? Absolutely. I love Gogeta, but I do find Janemba far more fun. Maybe it's the synchro gauge. I agree, but there isn't anything to prove it. Let's say they decided to not drop any units for the next 6 months, right? I think it's more likely that Gogeta will just somehow phase out from coming off the boost versus Janemba, who has more defensive capabilities. It's not that Gogeta is like bad, but he's reliant on his stats and damage. And one thing that is inevitable with Dragon Ball Legends is that damage will fall off. You will get power cracks. So depending on what they release in the future, let's say if their next unit is a red, right? Janemba could be out of here permanently. If their next unit is purple, that is actually valid, Gogeta could be out here permanently. It could actually just switch like that because the meta could change accordingly to the new units, and that will affect who ages better. But one thing we do know is that survivability ages better than damage, even though damage is very effective for the time that it releases. We've seen this with every single top tier celebration unit. They always are king of damage, and then they just get clipped because they don't have anything else to offer but the damage. They might have a crazy mechanic, but then if that gets clipped, it's long. But that we can't really prove. But damage will always fall off. So generally speaking, based on the history we had with Dragon Ball Legends, this is agreeable. Agreeable. Very agreeable. We got one here from Wavy. DBL is starting to understand how to balance the meta, so a lot of different characters can be used in PvP. But they also keep the hype up. They knew fusing Super Gogeta would get us all hype, but didn't break him to the point he runs the meta like Margin Vegeta. I agree with this. They are experimenting still though. It's not like a strong agree. I just think it's somewhat agreeable. I said earlier in this video that the meta is meant to reset when they get to a celebration because they want the anniversary and festival units to really take over and be valuable and worth summoning. That's kind of the methodology they've pushed for the past 7 years. Let's say they're running the actual new philosophy, even though it hasn't felt like it the whole year, right? They're running it in the festival 2025, which is why Super Gogeta isn't that Margin Vegeta unit, which is why Janemba is, to a degree, to some people's eyes, underwhelming, but I think he's actually built perfectly, you know? He's not doing too much, but he's doing enough, and he can do a lot. He just requires a bit of investment on the battlefield and in stars. But with Gogeta, they really went the damage route, but they didn't give him anything that's going to make him survive long term, so they're kind of putting him up there, but there are risk elements to both of their kits. So Janemba doesn't do great offensive damage, but he can do if you build him up. So defensively he's safe, but offensively he's not going to give you that plus that Gogeta does. But with Gogeta, defensively he's not too safe. But with Margin Vegeta, he had it all. So I guess for running the festival, they are understanding it a bit better, but they're really hit or miss. Some things they really feel like, yeah, they understand it, they know what they're doing, but then they release a unit like, I don't know, Fusion 13 back to back after Ultra Zamasu, and then give Red Zamasu a plat and put them all together. I think with individual kits they understand, but when it comes to building a meta, they really don't test enough, and I think they need experienced players. Like, yes, the devs play the game, but they need people like us, you know, that grind the game and understand the meta in and through, that when a new unit drops, how it could impact the game so severely. I think that they don't have a grasp on, but with the philosophy, it's not too bad. Some units they miss, but they've been experimenting. This is their first year doing it, so I guess give them more time. But overall, I think you are in the right, bro. I think you're right. As much as I don't want to say you're right, you know, I think for the most part you're right. This is a good take. We got one from Margin Rose. These are 2 units that are not absurdly broken but are actually balanced to an extent. Both LFs are good. Clearly one's better than the other, but it's not like Legends Fest last year, transforming VB and transforming Goku Black, or like the 7th anniversary part 1 MUI and Evo. Do I think this fest is bad? No. There's a comma, but there's nothing else. Okay. So let me start with this. These are 2 units that are not absurdly broken, but are balanced to an extent. I agree. I just spoke on that, saying how Gogeta offensively, he's cracked, right? But defensively, he's somewhat of a liability. You can take him out. And with Janemba, defensively, he's better off. Not great, but better off. But he does also have offensive, but he's not cracked. So we kind of balanced on both ends, where Gogeta is balanced on one end. He's attack heavy. Janemba's more balanced on both sides, but if anything, he's defense heavy. Even though he's a melee type, weird. Both LFs are good. Yes, clearly one's better than the other. I don't think it is a clear one, you know, because it's subjective. Even with last year, I don't think there's a clear one. Like, they went Legends original with kind of both of them, but like Vegeta, more than anything, like bro was doing a heat dome. That's very like insane. I think if you show that to the average Dragon Ball fan, they'll be like, what the hell? They have mobile games that do this? If you show it to a Legends fan, they'll be like, whatever. You know, I think it's really subjective in both cases. Janemba's and Gogeta's animations, I don't think one clearly tops the other. And with last year, I don't think one clearly tops the other. It really just depends on your taste. So for the first part, I think it's agreeable. So I'm just going to give you an overall agreeable, since that's the first thing you said. With the LFs, it's more subjective. But yeah, overall agreeable, you know. We got a take here from Num21. This is low-key one of the best part ones we've had in a while. The fact not only the long-awaited synchro gauge is back and it's Gogeta, Janemba finally got an LF. It's crazy he got an Ultra before an LF. Not even mad. He did. His animations are splendid and his not super toxic. Grammar all over the place, low-key. But what's a long time? Long while. We had it in a while. Like, what's a long while? Because two part ones ago, we got the most generational part one we've ever got in Dragon Ball Legends history. You know, one festival, the festival last year is not better than the festival this year, part one. The 7th anniversary this year is not better than the festival part one this year. But the 6th anniversary, you know, we only have to go 2 part ones and then boom. It might have felt like a long time, but I don't think that's a while. That's only like a year. Yeah, it's only like a year. Just over a year, I think. So, I'm gonna disagree. I don't think that's a long while. But yeah, the rest of what you're saying is solid. But like, your main take is like best part ones we had in a while. Nah, I don't agree. I don't think that's agreeable. But if like, you know, a year is a long time to you, then sure. But I don't think a year is a long time. Time flies. I'm not gonna lie. We got one from YGB. Z-tier boost can potentially get him to honorable mention in top 10 at highball. His damage is disgusting. He might not tank as well as normal meta units, but 300% damage inflicted to is nothing to laugh at. I am going to agree, but it's not worth it to actually run him. There are 2 factors that are going to make me agree, right? And I'm going to play into the hot take narrative with this one. The first factor, you need to have him at 14 stars. If you do not have him at 14 stars, put the fries in the bag. The second factor is that he's only valid post 60 time accounts. So that means for the first 60 time accounts, right, until you get to 120 time accounts in the game, he's buns. It's going to be a liability on the battlefield. Do not use him. Seriously. But this guy here, Z-tier boost, 60 time accounts, post, and 14 stars, he's that, bruh. The combo potential on this guy, the damage potential on this guy, the vanish restore on this guy, the rush getting, nullifying endurance, the gauge, it's futile. We're working with something here. We're working with something here. If you know, you know. I've used them too, so I know for sure. So that's why I gave very specific conditions. But I'm gonna agree, you know, just to play into the hot take. We've got one from OS, Savvy U. He is hype enough to be a part 3 ultra. I'm going to have to disagree. I'm going to have to disagree. We have to think about what ultras we've got, right? And every time they drop an ultra, it's a fusion warrior because they are clinical, fusion of the main character and the deuteragonist, I've already said this, or it's going to be someone that is the peak of whatever arc they were in every single time in a part 3, right? So if we go through every anniversary, we've had Super Vegito, we've had Vegito Blue, we've had G4. If we go through the festivals, we've had Super Gogeta, we've had Gogeta Blue, we've had Beast Gohan, we've had UI Goku, right? We've had Super Saiyan Goku and Frieza as well, but Frieza only came at the edition of Super Saiyan Goku. Don't forget that. Cool. The only way I see this guy dropping as a part 3 ultra in any celebration is if he's alongside Goku. And for them to do that, they'll be pulling out all the stops. I don't think they would drop him by himself as a part 3 ultra. I don't see that happening. So that's why I have to disagree, because he's not the peak of Daima. So for him to drop in a celebration as the ender alone, just not realistic. It's just not realistic. I don't think it's realistic. He's hype, sure, but even in the Daima campaign, they dropped him first and then they really dropped the big drop afterwards. Do you get what I'm saying? So yeah, only if they drop a 4Q ultra as well will this slide. We've got the last hot take of the video from Ludwiki. Having theme celebrations are kind of stupid. It would be better if they released 2 random units together, and that's why the 2021 Fest is my personal favorite. let's think about this, right? Like, let's go through every celebration. First of all, I'm gonna agree. Let's think about every celebration that is held as peak and what they had in their part 1. We got the 2021 festival, which has these two units, Blue Bros and Soda Hop Trunks. We've got the 2023 festival, which has Evil Ken and Beast Gohan. We've got the 6th anniversary, which has the two Fusion Warriors, Vegito and Gogeta Blue. So overall, you know, we've got 3. I named 3, and I'd say those 3 that I mentioned are very high tiers off rip. We've also got the 1st anniversary, which has Super Vegito and then the resurrection of F, Goku Blue and Vegeta Blue. So I think in reality, when they merge 2 different arcs and they take peaks from both different arcs, I think it's better. And another thing I'll add on to that is because it's 2 reasons. Is because 1, they don't have to downsize the hype in one arc. So a lot of people for the Fusion Reborn campaign, it feels like, alright, cool, we got Gogeta, but the only other thing hyping that arc is Janemba, and Janemba is nowhere near close to the hype that Gogeta can pull alone on his own. You know what I'm saying? They don't have to try and like hype somebody else up because they can just pick another peak moment from another arc. So that leads into the idea of variety in addition. And lots of people have different favorite things. So in this case, some people might prefer the Future arc over the Broly movie, which might be insanity, but it's possible. So if you prefer the Broly movie, you go for the Blue Bros. If you prefer the Future arc, you go for Trunks. And then you get to enjoy accordingly, especially if they do different things as well. So for example, the 2023 festival, if you prefer the Tournament of Power, you go for Blue Bros, Evil Ken, sorry. If you prefer the superhero movie, then you go for Beast Gohan. It's all per preference and you get more choice because of the variety aspect. But I could also see the cons of it. If they drop more variety in just one celebration, then in other celebrations, they kind of have to downsize because they've used up all their big drops. But then I can go back to it and say, if they just drop one theme for the part 1 or any part, right, it kind of just feels like a glorified campaign. They could have done this Fusion Reborn campaign in August. They could have done it in September, you know. But when it's the festival or the anniversary and it has 2 different themes, you know, it feels special because why the hell would they combine those? It doesn't make sense. But yeah, that's why I can agree with this. I know my explanation was kind of all over the place, but I'm sure it makes sense. More hot take videos to come. I think I'll do another one in the part 2 if it's looking really good, depending on what they drop, of course. And again, sorry if I wasn't able to include your hot take. There's a lot, over 100, and I can only include about 15. Otherwise, I'd be here for hours, right? Hours. But hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. If you haven't already, make sure to press the subscribe button. We're on this grind to 200,000 subscribers. I appreciate you guys for watching the video, man. My name's Zakashi, guys, and I'll see you guys in the next one, man.